Happy Friday. Welcome to Spicer & Company. I'm Sean Spicer.
And I'm Lindsay Keith. Well, the coronavirus appears to be getting a lot worse, Sean, and the nation now has more than 4.1 million cases. The country's point person on testing, the Assistant Secretary of Health for the Department of Health and Human Services, is standing by to talk to us about how we can turn the situation around and flatten that curve that we've discussed so many times. But first, a lot happened last night.
Yeah.
The country that started this all out, Sean, China, is now playing a game of tit for tat with us. They've ordered the U.S. to close its consulate in Chengdu now.
Yeah, Lindsay, this is a clear case of retaliation. We've been talking about this with our guests this week. It wasn't just going to get swept under the rug by the Chinese. We showed yesterday these videos of documents burning outside the consulate in Houston as they appeared to be destroying evidence of misconduct. I mean, we knew China was going to do something.
Yeah, they have to. I mean, if you look at their culture, I've spent a lot of time over there. They're all about saving face. And as we've talked about on this show with Chinese experts, their goal is world domination. And so they can't just let America look like they're doing something strong. They have to strong arm us. And that's why they're doing this.
That's right. Yeah, there's no question about it.
Yeah, no question. Well, the other big piece of news from last night was that the president has canceled the Jacksonville portion of the Republican National Convention because of the increase of COVID cases in Florida. Take a listen.
I care deeply about the people of Florida and everywhere else, frankly, in this country and even in the world, who would be coming into the state, and I don't want to do anything to upset it. They'll be doing very well very shortly.
The right call health-wise. All of the business of the committee was still always going to happen in Charlotte. It's going to be a very small print of just some of the key leaders of the party going down and doing this, but it was all going to happen by acclamation anyway in Charlotte. He was just going to give his speech, and the vice president was going to give his acceptance speech in Jacksonville. So I'm sure they'll find some other way to do this digitally now, but the business of the convention still is going to happen in Charlotte.
Well, let's switch gears now to another big topic today, testing for the coronavirus and the uptick in cases. As we just mentioned earlier, we have a surpassing number now, 4 million cases in the U.S., and it just keeps getting worse. Let's take a little trip down memory lane, if you don't mind. The White House said back in March it will take 15 days to flatten the curve. Well, we're now in July. Dr. Fauci first said, don't wear a mask, and now says, if we all wear masks, in 4 weeks, this would just go away. To me, or does it seem like the narrative just keeps on changing on us? Well, let's bring in the Assistant Secretary for Health and Human Services, Admiral Giror. Admiral, thanks so much for being here.
It's great to be here with you.
All right, well, I want to just cut straight to the chase with you. Why isn't the curve flattened like we thought it would be back in March if we just waited 15 days?
We did very significantly flatten the curve by all metrics. Number of cases, hospitalizations, death had gone down. And then what we think we have witnessed, and we're pretty sure about this, is sometime in the week or so after Memorial Day, it looks like people basically went out and were not careful or following our guidelines. So large parties, bars resumed, lots of crowded places, and we're seeing that uptake again. So that's what you saw, and you're seeing right now the result of that with the increased positivity of cases, then the increased number of cases, increased hospitalizations and deaths. So where we are right now, because I think everyone understands the urgency, and there's been many different efforts to, in a hot zone, close bars, reduce indoor dining, much higher use of face masks, and good hand hygiene. We are flattening the curve again. And why do I say that? Because the percent positive tests are going down in most jurisdictions. We have seen the emergency room visits going down. And over the last couple of days, we're starting to see the number of patients hospitalized going down. But again, if we're not careful, we don't follow the guidelines, this could go right back up again. We've got to really keep the foot on the gas in order to make this curve really flat and reverse.
Admiral, I got to ask you on face masks. I see a lot of people wearing these disposable medical masks, but it seems like the guidelines are actually for cloth face coverings, not these disposable ones. Would that be accurate?
They're really for both. Both will serve the purpose. Cloth face coverings are much more available. You can use them over and over again. You can make a fashion statement with them if you want. So I wear a cloth face covering because I know what I'm doing is I'm protecting everyone else around me. The surgical masks, the disposable masks are fine, but they're not needed for the general public. And again, I think they're much less comfortable, even though I wore them every day of my life when I was a practicing ICU physician. So cloth face covering is fine. If you want a surgical mask, that is fine. But I like these and they work just great.
You know, you've talked about testing. We've seen the access to testing be more readily available, but it still seems like getting the results takes quite a bit of time, up to a week, maybe even longer. How do you speed up that process so that we can get results immediately almost?
So remember, put this in context. A few months ago, we were doing 1,000 or 2,000 tests per day. We're doing 770,000 tests per day, and that continues to increase. But we do want to decrease turnaround time. Let me put this in context for you. About half the tests done in the country are either point of care, meaning within 15 minutes, or at a local hospital for those patients, which is generally within 24 hours. The big delays we're talking about are the other half of testing that's done at large commercial labs. Now, the national average turnaround time as of yesterday was 4.27 days. That's still too long, and some states are more than that, some states are less, but we're attacking this in a number of ways. We are surging testing to the really hot zone areas. This decompresses the system, but also provides test results back more quickly. We've done this already in Jacksonville, Florida, in McAllen, Texas, Baton Rouge, Louisiana. We're up in Phoenix and we're up in Miami right now, and we're going to have a few more cities coming up. So all these things are really happening at the same time, and I do expect that you're going to see turnaround times at the major commercial labs, at least some of them, be shorter this week as all these measures have come together and they've expanded their capacity.
Right. Before I let you go, I got to ask you about Dr. Fauci. President Trump said that he was a little bit of an alarmist. Dr. Fauci came out yesterday and said we may not see normalcy until 2021 when we get a vaccine going. Do you feel like that's an accurate read?
I do think that's an accurate read. It depends what you think of normalcy. If you think of normalcy, basically having the America we knew 12 months ago, but wearing a mask and having a few less crowded situations, then we can have that earlier with physical distancing and all the mitigation measures. If you're talking about being absolutely back to pre-COVID, I don't think that's going to happen until we have herd immunity. And herd immunity really means when we get about 80% of the people in the population who've either had the infection or got the vaccine. Or there could be a little nuances about that. If they're high spreaders, you need to make sure. But I do agree with Tony that to be, quote, normal pre-COVID, it's going to take a vaccine. It's going to take that herd immunity. But the point I want to emphasize is we can get pretty close to that with physical distancing, wearing a mask, better hygiene, care about crowded gatherings. We can get pretty much back to normal before a vaccine, but we're not going to get back to, quote, normal until we have that herd immunity. And
we think we won't have a vaccine until the new year?
So, we don't know. Even Tony, who is the always a little bit skeptical, and he says that himself, we're all optimistic by all the results we've seen, both from the programs we're running here at HHS as well as other vaccines that are outside the program. We're really getting positive results. We know that a vaccine is entering what's called phase 3 trials. That means the trial that actually shows whether it's safe and effective. We believe more will be entering phase 3 trials very soon, and it'll take a few months. We can't rush science, but the way these are set up, they're going to be constantly monitored. So as soon as that signal shows that it's really safe and effective, it can be actually receive an authorization and be given to the population. And remember what we're doing. We're not cutting corners on the science or the safety. We are taking financial risk by supporting the widespread manufacture of all of these vaccines before they're shown to be effective. If they're not effective or safe, we throw all that manufacturing out. Yes, we've lost money, but when some are safe and effective, we'll have tens of millions of doses right there at time zero to provide to the American public. So no risks on safety or efficacy, financial risk, but we can take that because we want to keep everyone safe and get that vaccine as soon as possible.
Admiral, it's so great to have you. Thanks for all your guidance and giving us some direction here today.
All right, still to come, the Washington Redskins are dropping their name. We'll discuss the timing of the announcements with a former Redskins player. Plus, cancel culture continues. With companies being boycotted for supporting the president, one CEO tells us why he's not backing down. But up next, some say Dr. Fauci is becoming a distraction in dealing with the COVID crisis. We're going to bring in some experts to talk about all that when we return.